In the 1970s, black neighborhoods hummed with a different kind of energy. Kids didn't need gyms or fitness trackers. They didn't count steps or carbs. Yet somehow they stayed lean, strong, and tireless from sunrise to streetlights. The truth isn't found in diets or trends. It's woven into the rhythm of everyday life. From double Dutch ropes slapping concrete to Soul Train lines in living rooms, movement wasn't exercise. It was culture. It was joy. It was survival turned into celebration. What happened between then and now? Let's step back and remember back then. Go outside and play. Go outside and play wasn't a suggestion. It was the law of the house. Kids spilled out onto sidewalks and empty lots every single day, inventing games that required nothing but imagination and fast feet. Tag turned into full-contact sport. Hopscotch squares were chalked fresh every morning. Hide-and-go-seek could last for hours, with hiding spots that ranged from porches to alleyways to the back of somebody's uncle's Cadillac. Parents didn't hover or schedule playdates. They expected you gone until the streetlights blinked on, and you knew better than to be late. Teenagers got the same message after chores. Get out. So they did. They rode bikes until the chains rattled, climbed trees until their shirts were streaked with bark, built whole worlds out of sticks, cardboard, and whatever else the neighborhood offered. Stickball bats leaned against stoops. Jump ropes hung from doorknobs. Sidewalk chalk sat in every mailbox. Movement wasn't a chore. It was free double Dutch mastery. If you walked down any city block in the 70s, you heard it before you saw it. The rhythmic slap of two ropes spinning in opposite directions. The chant of a clapping rhyme. The shuffle of sneakers hitting pavement in perfect time. Double Dutch wasn't just play. It was art, competition, and cardio all braided together. Girls stood in line, waiting their turn, watching the ropes blur, studying footwork like it was a science. Freestylers flipped mid-jump. Crews practiced synchronized routines that could rival any dance team. Grandparents sat on stoops, clapping and calling out encouragement. Parents kept spare ropes hanging by the door, right next to the house keys. In 1973, Double Dutch got official rules, and competitive teams like the Fantastic Four turned it into a national movement. But on the block it stayed raw and unscripted. 2 phone cords, a stretch of sidewalk, and a will to jump until your legs gave out or your mama called you home. Soul Train Saturdays. Saturday mornings belonged to cartoons. But Saturday afternoons, that was Soul Train. Families rushed through chores just to gather around the TV and watch Don Cornelius introduce the hippest dancers in America. The Soul Train line was the main event. Couples and solo dancers strutting down the aisle, pulling moves that made meeting rooms erupt in cheer. As soon as the credits rolled, kids and parents alike pushed the couch back, cranked up the record player and tried every step they'd just seen. The robot, the locking, the bump. It didn't matter if you had 2 left feet, you danced anyway. At birthday parties and family reunions, someone always yelled, "Let's do the Soul Train line." And suddenly, uncles, cousins, and grandmas formed a tunnel of clapping hands while each person took their turn down the mid. Cassette tapes sat stacked next to the turn, ready to fuel impromptu sessions. Dancing wasn't performance. It was connection, joy, and a full-body workout disguised as culture. Block parties and hip-hop's birth. When the weather turned warm, neighbors didn't ask permission. They just claimed the street, saw horses, went up at both ends of the block. Extension cords snaked from lamp posts to power massive speakers, and then the music dropped. Block parties were where communities came alive, where DJs spun records until the pavement vibrated, and everyone, kids, teens, elders, danced under open sky. In the early 70s, these parties became something even bigger. The birthplace of hip-hop. Youth who'd once been pulled into street conflicts found a new outlet. They grabbed flattened cardboard boxes, laid them on the asphalt and battled with footwork instead of fists. Popping, locking, breaking, moves so sharp they looked like stop motion. Tables lined the curb loaded with homemade lemonade, grilled chicken and corn on the cob. Fuel to keep bodies moving until the streetlights dimmed. It wasn't just dancing, it was energy redirected. Pride reclaimed and a whole generation staying in motion until the sun came back up. Roller rink culture. Saturday nights at the rink were ritual. You laced up four-wheeled skates that smelled like leather and old wax, stepped onto polished wood under spinning mirror balls and let the music take over. Black roller rinks in the 70s weren't just entertainment. They were community hubs where everyone knew your name, your crew, and your signature move. Spots like Skate Palace and Paradise Skating Rink became temples of rhythm skating, where soul and funk tracks set the tempo and skaters glided in synchronized lines that rivaled any Soul Train episode. Teens practiced intricate footwork for weeks, perfecting spins, crossovers and backward glides until they could hold their own in informal skate dance battles. People carried their own skates in drawstring bags, wheels freshly tightened, laces color-coordinated with their outfit. At the snack bar, you could grab buttery popcorn and grape soda between sets. Roller skating wasn't just fun, it was endurance, balance and style all rolled into one. You didn't sit down until your legs gave out or the DJ called last skate. Marching band discipline. If you wanted to see discipline turned into spectacle, you went to a marching band halftime show. In the 1970s, bands at historically black colleges and high schools transformed military drills into full-blown performances. High-stepping with knees lifted to 90 degrees, horns swinging in unison, drums shaking the bleachers. Practice didn't stop when school let out. Students drilled on dusty fields long after sunset, running to catch late buses if they hadn't nailed the routine. Parents parked cars around the field and aimed headlights at the turf so their kids could see the formations. Band members wore heavy brass instruments strapped to their chests, plumed hats that added another foot of height, and uniforms so sharp they could cut glass. Every step was deliberate, every turn was synchronized. Halftime wasn't a bathroom break, it was the reason people stayed in their seats. Marching band wasn't just music, it was endurance, precision and pride made visible, and it kept every member in peak physical shape without ever stepping foot in a gym. Boys and Girls Club. When the school bell rang, kids didn't head home to screens. They raced to the Boys and Girls Club. Membership cost about $2 and was earned only after you finished homework, chores and whatever your mama said needed doing. Once you got that card though, the world opened up. Multiple baseball fields buzzed with games from afternoon until dusk. Kids played so hard they'd sprint home for lunch, then sprint right back to catch the next inning. The clubs filled gaps that few other organizations could. Organized sports, mentors who cared, and a safe place to burn energy until your legs were jelly. Inside, wood shops and clay rooms kept hands busy making birdhouses and pottery, while coaches like Mr. Jackson taught lessons that had nothing to do with batting averages. Basketball courts hosted pickup games that turned into travel team tryouts. Every activity demanded movement, focus and hustle. The clubs didn't just keep kids off the street, they kept them strong, sharp, and surrounded by people who believed in them. Community gardens. Vacant lots didn't stay vacant long. Families in black neighborhoods saw empty land and planted future. Armed with donated seeds, hand tools and knowledge passed down from grandparents, they turned rubble into rows of collard greens, tomatoes, sweet peppers and herbs that perfumed entire blocks. Kids learned to dig, weed, water and harvest alongside elders who treated the soil like a textbook. These gardens weren't just about food. They were cultural classrooms where stories about southern roots and ancestral growing techniques were shared over turned earth. Homemade compost bins sat in corners. Painted rain barrels collected water. Folding chairs lined the edges where neighbors shelled peas and swapped recipes. Tending a garden meant hours on your feet, bending, lifting, carrying, planting. It was labor, yes, but it was also medicine. Fresh air, sunshine, The gardens grew vegetables, but they also grew community, resilience and bodies that stayed strong without ever needing a gym membership or a trainer counting reps. Black Panther Breakfast Program. Before the sun came up, parents and volunteers gathered in church basements and community centers to cook. The Black Panther Party's free breakfast for children program, launched in 1969, fed thousands of kids every morning. Grits, scrambled eggs, toast, fresh fruit, and a carton of cold milk. By 1970, the Panthers claimed they were feeding 20,000 children across the country. Kids lined up with tin trays, moving down a serving line where adults smiled and filled their plates with hot, real food. It wasn't charity, it was dignity. It was care made visible. Colorful posters of Malcolm X and Angela Davis hung on the walls, reminding children they were part of something bigger. Local grocery stores and farmers donated supplies, and the meals were hearty enough to fuel long school days. No sugar cereals, no vending machines, just breakfast that stuck to your ribs and reminded you that your community had your back. These programs didn't just fight hunger, they built strength, focus in a generation that started each day nourished. Soul food Sundays. Sunday mornings smelled like heaven. Collard greens simmered low with ham hocks. Fried chicken crackled in cast iron skillets. Macaroni and cheese bubbled golden in the oven. By the time church let out, the table was set, and the house was full. Extended families squeezed into dining rooms, passing cornbread still warm from the skillet, and pouring sweet tea into mismatched glasses. Conversations overlapped. Laughter, debates, stories that had been told 100 times but still hit. Soul food wasn't just cuisine, it was culture on a plate, tradition cooked with love. The term soul food gained popularity in the 60s and 70s, and black-owned restaurants became neighborhood gathering spots where people ate together and felt at home. Checkered aprons hung on hooks. Porcelain serving bowls were handed down through generations. Meals took time to prepare and even longer to finish because no one rushed. Eating together meant moving together, setting tables, washing dishes, dancing between courses. Food was fuel, yes, but it was also connection, and it kept bodies lean because nothing was wasted. Portions were honest, and every bite mattered. Modest portions and real food. In 1970, Americans consumed about 2,160 calories per day. Dinner plates were smaller, 8 or 9 inches across, and servings were modest. A piece of fried chicken, a scoop of greens, a slice of cornbread. That was dinner. No one piled plates high or went back for thirds unless it was a special occasion. Desserts were treats, not daily habits. A slice of sweet potato pie on Sunday, a handful of cookies after school. Families didn't snack on jumbo bags of chips because those didn't exist yet. Instead, they shared bowls of fruit, apples, oranges, bananas, or cracked open peanuts while watching TV. Homemakers measured flour and sugar from canisters, baking cakes and biscuits from scratch rather than ripping open boxes of processed mixes. There were no supersized sodas or value meals. Portions reflected what the body needed, not what corporations could sell. And because food was cooked at home with real ingredients, it took effort to make and time to eat. That alone kept people mindful, grateful, and naturally lean. Before processed foods flooded in, before the late 70s and early 80s, ultra-processed foods and sugar-sweetened beverages hadn't yet flooded black neighborhoods. Fast food chains were rare. Families ate home-cooked meals, or visited soul food restaurants that used real vegetables, lean meats, and recipes passed down through generations. The obesity epidemic began when energy from eating out jumped from 9.4% of total intake in 1977-78. But in the early 70s, teens grabbed snacks from corner stores, sunflower seeds, pickles in brine, roasted peanuts in paper bags, not supersized fries and sodas. Moms packed school lunches in brown paper bags, a sandwich on wheat bread, an apple, a small homemade cookie. No high fructose corn syrup, no artificial colors, no ingredients you couldn't pronounce. Cooking meant chopping, seasoning, simmering. It meant standing over a stove, tasting as you went, adjusting salt and pepper by instinct. That kind of food didn't just taste better. It kept bodies balanced, energy steady, and weight in check without anyone counting a single calorie. Walking was life. A 1974 transportation study found that 20% of U.S. households owned no car, and more than 65% of people lacked immediate access to one. Carlessness was most common in low-income urban households, which meant walking or taking the bus wasn't a choice. It was life. Black families walked to church, school, grocery stores, and work, often covering miles every single day. Kids trekked several blocks with siblings to get to school, racing along sidewalks, stopping to talk with neighbors,
and arriving with flushed cheeks and tired legs. Moms pushed strollers uphill while balancing grocery bags on one arm. Dads hauled canvas sacks filled with produce from corner markets, arms burning by the time they reached home. Buses meant standing, waiting, and sometimes running to catch the last ride before dark. Grocery carts on wheels and sturdy wagons were common sights, practical tools that turned shopping into a full-body workout. Every errand required movement, every destination demanded steps, and all those steps added up to bodies that stayed strong, hearts that stayed healthy, and communities that moved together without ever needing a gym membership. One screen, one family. In the 1970s, most American households had one screen, a television with rabbit ear antennas perched on top. By 2015, the average household had 8 screens. By 2024, it was 17. But back then, families negotiated viewing schedules like diplomats. Saturday morning cartoons were sacred, but once they ended, kids were kicked out. The TV stayed off until evening when everyone gathered to watch Good Times or Sanford and Son. Living rooms featured family photos, not rows of glowing rectangles. Children waited all week for their favorite shows and spent the rest of their free time running, playing, building forts and inventing games that required nothing but imagination and open space. Board games came out on rainy days. Monopoly, checkers, Trouble, and stories were told out loud, passed from grandparents to grandkids in real time, not through screens. Boredom wasn't something to fix with a device. It was fuel for creativity, movement, and connection. And because screens didn't dominate, bodies stayed active, minds stayed sharp, and families stayed close. Presidential physical fitness test. Students endured gym class challenges that felt like boot camp. Push-ups until your arms shook, sit-ups counted out loud, rope climbs that left palms burning and legs trembling, the shuttle run where you sprinted back and forth until your lungs screamed. The presidential physical fitness test wasn't optional. It was a rite of passage, a national standard that every kid had to meet. Teachers led stretching routines on cinder tracks and grassy fields, making everyone run laps during recess, whether they wanted to or not. PE equipment like climbing ropes, medicine balls, balance beams, and giant parachutes were favorite playground fixtures that encouraged movement, teamwork, and a little healthy competition. Early fitness advocates argued that older generations were tougher because their daily lives required more physical activity. So to combat modern sedentary lifestyles, the US government introduced these tests in schools. Earning a patch or certificate for high scores meant something. It was proof you worked hard, pushed through, and met the standard. Physical education wasn't a joke. It was discipline, endurance and pride wrapped in gym shorts and sneakers. Conclusion: Black communities in the 1970s stayed fit without gyms because life demanded movement. Walking, dancing, playing, cooking, working, all of it built strength, endurance, and resilience. Staying active wasn't a trend. It was survival, culture, and joy rolled into one.